Hey everyone, welcome to the Huddle. We are a couple days out from Veterans Day, which is a very important time for the country, for all of us, and here at Walmart. Our founder, Sam Walton, was a veteran, and ever since he started the company, we've placed so much attention and weight on serving others, trying to be great, serving our customers, respecting people, and operating integrity. And a lot of those principles are things that we learned from our founder, which are rooted in some of the principles of our armed services. And I have two people here today that I'm excited to introduce you to, Juli and Quintin, and they are part of our corporate fellowship program. So we want to talk about that. We want to talk about your service. And I want to start by first saying a sincere thank you to both of you for serving the country, for being a part of our team. We couldn't be here able to do the things we get to do each and every day if it weren't for so many people like you, including those who have sacrificed so much and the ultimate sacrifice for our country. So thanks to both of you.
Thank you for your support. Appreciate that.
You bet. So let's talk about your service, if that works, what you're doing, maybe not what you're doing right now, but what you're doing in the military, because you're both still a part of and in. So Juli, let's start with you.
So I have been in the Air Force for 9.5 years. I am a Air Force logistics readiness officer, primarily been in supply chain and air transportation disciplines. With that, I started out, graduated from the Air Force Academy, commissioned in 2014, moved to Eielson Air Force Base, Alaska, where I met my husband, Quintin. And then from there, they sent us to Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. I was primarily doing presidential support, airlift support for President, Sec State, Sec Def, so a lot of time on TV, very nervous. And then I quickly moved down to Defense Logistics Agency in Aviation in Richmond, Virginia. And then they moved me to super close to Joint Base Lewis McChord, Washington, in Washington State. From there, I deployed for a short about 6 months, 20 days to Kuwait, Camp Arifjan, and did soft support for, which is essentially Special Operations Forces support for Combined Special Operations Joint Task Force Levant, which essentially where our mission was to defeat ISIS.
That's a lot of moves.
It was a lot of moves.
Yeah, all over the country and back and forth. They were close. Mm-hmm. I lived in Richmond as well and Maryland with Walmart, so familiar with a few of those spots. And Quintin, how about you?
Yeah, so I was a ROTC, so Reserve Officer Training Corps. I commissioned as a second lieutenant from the California State University of Fresno. I commissioned into the Army as a CBRN officer, so chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear officer. My junior years as a lieutenant, I was stationed up in Alaska as well. I cut my teeth as a lieutenant with 1-5 Infantry as an operations officer. So we were learning to plan, operate, and execute different training scenarios and different training events for our soldiers up there. And then after my lieutenant years, I then had the privilege to be able to transition into the military intelligence. So as a captain, I went to the military intelligence school down in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, transitioned as an officer into that, and then moved to Fort Meade in Maryland as well, where I was part of 704th Military Intelligence Brigade in support of the National Security Agency, so NSA. So we got to do a lot of cool things and be in support of strategic missions that were in support of the United States as a whole. So that was just a fantastic opportunity to do that. And then following that time, still at Fort Meade, I then was able to be a company commander in the Army. So that was probably the highlight of my career, being able to be directly in charge of about 150 soldiers. So being sure to take care of them and give them the resources and opportunities to be able to succeed in their job, which was in support of NSA. Finally, after that, moving to Joint Base Lewis McChord as well, I was then, as a broadening experience for a senior captain, I was given the opportunity to be head of HR for a specialized unit at the base's hospital, Madigan Army Medical Center. So we were in charge of HR for what we called the Soldier Recovery Unit. And the mission for them was to provide complex treatment and support for our wounded soldiers in the Army. So we made sure that those that were in needed complex care for active duty, National Guard, and reserves. And then after that, started to look into transitioning over to the fellowship, and here we are now.
Here we are. So one question for both of you. With all the moves, a lot of complexity, a lot of change, how did you maintain your relationship, your marriage? I'm sure there was some timing of moves that didn't exactly line up. How did you manage that?
Well, I would say, first off, the 5 love languages. was phenomenal for us. We definitely had some stressors on the marriage. Every time we move back in together, we kind of get to relearn how to live with each other. But it really helps that being a Army Air Force, we kind of know what each other's going through, and then just communication. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would say we've been married now for 8 years, and about 5 of those years we've been geographically separated. And adding to what Julie said is communication, making sure that we are always on the same page, regardless of where we are located in the world or in the United States. So through that experience, we've had our trials and tribulations, but I think we've gone through it and are nothing but stronger coming out of it.
That's great. You know, when you work with people and managing the things that we have, communication becomes an art, a skill, and something you have to rely on. So talk about that a bit. What's it been like in the last 10 weeks? You're in week 10 of a 12-week program. What have you learned about communication here in the private sector? And are there any lessons from the armed services that helped you get to be able to do this well?
Honestly, I would say overshare.
Overshare.
I would say similar to how the military is, we tend to operate in silos sometimes. And so sometimes just reaching out to say, hey, I've got this problem, can you point me in the right direction? I have found that here within Walmart, oh my goodness, people have been so warm and welcoming and answer my silly questions on trying to make that transition from the military experience into how that applies to corporate retail. Really just reaching out and asking the question. People will go the mile for you.
Yeah, that's great. Quintin, how about you?
Yeah, adding to it, I would say the communication to it is the key to success for Walmart. And through this fellowship, I've noticed that in a lot of ways, Walmart operates very similar to the military, but the terminology and the language is a little bit different. So of course, we have our end states, we have our goals, we have our missions and everything like that. And being able to communicate cross-functionally across the business and seeing that in real time during this fellowship has been just an eye-opening experience. And it's so cool to just see that Walmart is so successful in that. And to add to what Julie said as well, from day one of the fellowship, everybody has been extremely welcoming and communication has been extremely efficient. So just being able to talk to anybody on my team or even outside of my team, everybody is more than willing to take some time out of their day and be like, hey, yeah, of course we can answer these questions for you and help you move along towards your success.
So how did you find the fellowship? How did your work, and I know you said you're both about to leave your service officially soon. So how did you find this opportunity, and how would others that are in similar positions think about it the same way?
So we learned about the corporate fellowship through Hiring Our Heroes and our military transition program, TAPS. And from there, it was just making internal connections. So we actually sat down with Aaron Berg, who took time out of his busy schedule, and essentially helped us make that connection between our military experience and where we could add value to the company. For me, Aaron put me in contact with Jason Evans because I knew I wanted to do something with supply chain. And then Jason Evans put me in contact with Sean Patel, and that's actually my mentor in the program who can help me make the terminology because sometimes the language that we speak is very different, and Walmart's got its own language to begin with. And so turning how to say something that maybe is not politically correct in the military and say that professionally and respectfully in corporate language has just, it's been different, especially working with special operations. It's been different. But, and then from there, I couldn't say like Gustavo and Jeff and Jaron, like shout out to them because they jumped through hoops to make this happen for us with the timeline that Hiring Our Heroes had and keep us in the same program.
Tell us a bit about what you've done while you're here. So maybe Quintin, what work you're doing? I know you said supply chain, so we'll come back to you, Julie, but Quintin?
Yeah, absolutely. So to kind of speak off what Julie was saying as well, talking with Aaron Berg, I'm actually on his team within E2E, so working under Data Foundations. And currently we're working cross-functionally across kind of like US Walmart as a business and finding and tagging data signals. So finding what they are, where they are, and how we're using them. And it has been just an incredible experience to be able to see how we are leveraging data to answer the questions of the business and make the business that much more successful. So through this experience, which has gone by extremely fast, it is it's so cool to be able to see E2E, what they're doing, what their mission is, and then it's very exciting to see what E2E will accomplish in the immediate future and into the future as well.
Yeah, and ED is our end-to-end operations
Correct,
team,
yes.
and your time at the NSA, I'm sure, helps with understanding,
kind
assimilating
of
data.
in a similar vein and such.
Yeah,
So.
right. That's great. That's great. Julie, I know supply chain.
Yes.
But
So,
narrow down a bit for us.
Yes, so I am specifically on the grocery network supply chain acceleration and support. So we are looking at across the network, similar to the military, our supply chains kind of operate in their own silos and taking best practices. And so specifically, they have me working on a project for load quality, essentially looking at outbound load quality and how do we make sure that we get the right stuff to the stores on time, essentially that perfect trailer. And as I've worked through this project, very broad scope, that it has put me in contact with so many different teams and seeing how data's come up quite a bit. Big in the Air Force too, like you need reliable, accurate data to essentially drive senior level decision making at the speed of relevance. Big push. And so we've been struggling to make sure that we frame our product or frame that decision, that problem set to make sure that we're sending what the stores need in the condition that they need it at the right time, right place, right location. And so that's essentially what I've been working on.
It sounds easy, but when you're involved in this for a long time, getting 130,000 items to a supercenter at the right time, at the right place, right condition is quite complex. So data matters, the work matters. A couple things I want to just close with. I've heard great things about both of you, and you're living here in Centerton. So I have something for you. You don't have to read it now, but I have permanent offer letters for both of you. We want you to stay. We want you to move to Northwest Arkansas. We want you to join the team.
You make me emotional.
Well, thank you.
So hang on to these.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything. And thank you for your service to the country. Thanks for joining the company. And I hope you say yes. And
Absolutely.
look forward to seeing you here a lot more in Northwest Arkansas. So much is possible here at the company and through programs like this. And I just want to say I'm proud of both of you and welcome to Walmart.
Thank you,
John.
John.
Thanks, everybody.